Welcome to Wasatch Weekends for this Monday, September 18th edition. I'm your in-studio host, Ben Roof. We've got a great show in store for you today where we're going to be showing you a spectacular pasta dish that you can make on a budget, and we're going to be talking to local artist Lindsay Aaron. But first, a quick announcement. The Soldier Hollow Sheepdog Classic was not around this past Labor Day weekend, and that's due to a construction project at Soldier Hollow. Unfortunately, that means that the event is going to have to be delayed, but the organizers have decided to, instead of waiting till next year, they're going to host the event on Memorial Day come 2024. And that's going to be a great opportunity to get out there and give the dogs and the sheep a chance to compete in a little bit cooler temperatures. So make sure to mark your calendars because this has been a crowd favorite since 2003. Now, let's take a quick look at the weather before we get on with the rest of the show.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Welcome back to the show. The cost of living has always been an issue, so our fearless leader, Steve Mumblow, has got a wonderful pasta recipe for us that we can complete on a pretty tight budget. Let's take a look.
Today, we're cooking on the theme of how to cook without really cooking.
That's my favorite kind of cooking.
Yes.
I'll admit. Yes.
Because as Steve would understand, or many people that have houses here in the Park City area and their college kids come home, they show up with friends. And what do you do with them? They bring the refreshments, but they still want to be fed. So this episode is about how to feed people 10 or more for under $30 and make sure that they're satisfied.
I love it.
Steve, everyone always knows, what do you have to do?
You got to have the 5 Ps.
The 5 Ps. So we're making our spaghetti, not from scratch, because I've had friends send me 3 pages of how to make spaghetti sauce. Wonderful, but this is not what we're going to do.
We're not. We're scratching that.
We
That's out the
are
window.
going with the 5 Ps.
5 Ps. Okay. I'm
Prego.
Prego.
Puree.
Puree.
Paste.
Paste. That's 3. 2 more. We're in
Parmesan.
suspense. Parmesan.
And last but not least, pasta.
I love it. The 5 Ps. All right.
So Steve's new at cooking, so I have taken it upon myself to run the can opener, and he will be doing the actual blending. Now what's great about this, when you first show up in Park City and you haven't been here quite a month, you probably only have 2 pots and 1 pan. So we have to do everything with 2 pots and 1 pan. So you want to get going, Steve?
You ready? Okay,
We're
I'm
off
going to move
to
out of
the
your
races.
way. You
So
scoot
the
in
first
there.
ingredient in our spaghetti sauce is Prego. There you go, Master Chef.
So is it Prego because it's a pea, or do you have an affinity and natural liking to Prego?
You could use anything that's out there, and it's pretty cool. There's our first pea.
Perfect. Perfect.
Now, I'm going to shake it up here a little bit because instead of puree, I'd rather have crushed tomatoes and basil. This is a lot better than puree. So I'm going to open this can up here.
We are back in the kitchen cooking spaghetti with Steve. And who would have thought all those years ago when you met Steve's dad that one day you'd be cooking with his son in Park City, Utah on TV?
That's right, and having can opener stress.
Yes. All right, it worked out, but maybe always make sure you have 2 can openers.
Exactly. So we started off on our 5 Ps by putting in a jar of Prego. Now we're going to the second P, which would have been puree, but we're going to use crushed tomatoes. And Steve, have at it.
The second P.
So those crushed tomatoes add that texture, kind of those spices,
Yeah.
make it a little chunkier.
And now we're going to put the paste in.
For our third P is the paste.
All right. See, Steve, I think you're going to become a chef. No more
You gotta start
PB&J.
somewhere, right?
You do, you do.
Now the paste is great because it will thicken up your sauce and it allows you to do a variety of other things like what you add to your sauce, be it vegetables or meat or even a little bit of red wine later on. So we've got the base of our sauce done. Now we're going to go to adding to it to make it a little oomph to get it going. So we've chopped some onions. And Steve, you're going to throw the onions into the pan. Let them start to dump the whole thing in there.
Just don't be shy.
Yeah. Let them start sauteing. And you start off with your onions because they require the most cooking. And we'll let them cook here. And they're starting off. To this mixture, we're going to be adding mushrooms, which gives it a nice earthy flavor. And folks seem to always like that. And then after we get our onions sauteed up, which we already have some example here, so we'll just put them into the sauce.
The magic of TV. We have some pre-sauteed onions going in right now. Smells delicious. It's looking
does smell good.
Now with your onions cooking there, we only have one pan. We want to saute the onions there, and then we have our chopped mushrooms. And the mushrooms can go in once the onions are like a golden brown, and they're starting to sizzle now.
Oh yeah.
When they're golden brown, mushrooms have a lot of water in them. So when you add them in there for the flavor, leave them uncovered so that the moisture in the mushrooms can evaporate, just leaving the flavor behind. So Steve, why don't you do that now?
Mixing together quite nicely.
Yeah, it's smelling real good in here.
What was the last meal you had, Steve? What did you have last night for dinner?
I had some ribs last night.
I thought you only made PB&J. Come on, you're holding out on us.
I didn't cook them.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
fair
They
enough.
were good though.
So that's our turn away. And we already have some pre-cooked mushrooms here. You'll add those into the sauce there, Steve.
Here we go.
I think we need a visual of this sauce. Let's maybe tip it
Yeah.
up and see how good that looks. All those different textures and flavors. Will be delicious spaghetti. A little bit of oomph. All right, you want to keep mixing that?
Let's do it.
Now for informational purposes, all the steps that we have taken so far, including the Parmesan cheese, cost $17.86.
That's a deal.
It's
And
a
you
real
said
good
10
deal.
people. This is
You can feed 10 people with this, yes.
This is great when my son brings all his teenage friends over. I know what I'm making next time.
Yeah. And so the onions are getting a little more cooked here, and I like a lot more vegetables in my sauce. And so they're getting almost done. And Steve, you can put those in there too.
All right.
Yeah.
Add it all in there.
Yeah.
So do you cook a lot, Steve, when you're at home?
Not really, because it's just Patty and myself.
Okay.
And cooking for two people is difficult because you get a lot of waste.
That's true.
A lot of
That's
leftovers.
true.
A lot of leftovers. So if you stir that up, Steve, now we're to the part where what kind of meat products do you want in? You could put in sausage, or we can put in hamburger.
All right.
And that's what we're going to do right now is put in our hamburger using the same pan that we did before. It's nice and hot. And Steve, why don't you open that and throw that in and
while-
start sizzling that way. And we'll start to get the water boiling here
And while that
for the
all
pasta.
happens
I'll
and
turn
cooks,
that on.
Looks good. We are
Yeah.
going to head to break while we cook this hamburger and boil this water, but you don't want to miss the final product. It's going to be really, really good. So spaghetti with Steve and
Throw it in.
Steve. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the show. I don't know about you, but I'm starting to get a little bit hungry, so let's see how Steve finishes up that pasta.
We are back in the kitchen where President of Deerfield Media, Steve Mumbo, is teaching intern Steve how to make spaghetti for a crowd on a budget.
Yeah.
And through the magic or miracle of a commercial break, we have cooked ground beef and much more. What's next?
Well, we made our spaghetti sauce, and we put in a store-bought spaghetti sauce, Prego in this instance. You can use whatever you like. Then you put in a can of puree and a can of paste, which is what we've done. You add a little chopped onions and some mushrooms to give it a good hearty flavor. Why do you start with the store-bought spaghetti sauce? It has all the spices in it. You don't have to buy spices. It's got the oregano, the basil, and everything else. And that is your most expensive items to buy, is spices.
Yeah.
Although we do have a little Italian spice, which Steve will use at the end and flavor to his liking.
All right.
So we've made our base spaghetti sauce, and as you see, it takes 10 minutes. Now we've browned our ground beef using the same pan that we cooked our onions and mushrooms in. So we're cutting down on what we have to wash. And so Steve, dump it in there now.
All right.
And what we have in our kitchen. Do you have any of these pots, pans in your kitchen right now, Steve, here in Park City?
I do.
You do?
Well,
Okay, good.
whether I will use them is a whole nother question.
Well, you will now. Now that you know how to make spaghetti, especially Steve's version, I think you'll be inspired, right?
Of course. It smells real good.
Yeah.
It does smell good.
So our spaghetti sauce is done. And a good thing with the sauce, you can make this in the morning. And you can go out skiing. And when you come back skiing, in addition to having your friends drop by, but if you're just here on vacation, after skiing, you go to the hot tub and you enjoy the down day. Who wants to cook?
No one.
It's already done.
It's done.
All you really have to cook is your pasta. And have al dente pasta. It takes 7 minutes. And so our water's beginning to boil here. And I'm going to throw in some of our pasta. We're just going to crack it in half here so that it all fits. And your meal is done in 7 minutes.
Done and done.
And you can feed people. Now, if some people say, well, we need a salad for this, you know, especially younger folks may not want the salad. But there's always leftover mushrooms,
There you go.
and we always save a pepper for them. So
So we can have a pepper mushroom salad
that's right.
and throw in an onion.
The leftover, and we got a leftover onion. So it's completely done, the meal, and it's a great and easy way. Now, when we traditionally make this, we also make meatballs, but we're not doing that today.
We're going to
Yeah.
start simple.
That's a whole nother segment.
But meatballs are very
Next time.
easy. The secret is using a rye bread with caraway seeds in it.
Okay.
Just take it, cut the crust off, mix the ground beef with some of your onions and mushrooms and 1 or 2 eggs, and just make the meatballs, put them in the oven for 45 minutes, and they're done. But you really don't need that because there's so much meat product in the spaghetti sauce already. So now, 10 minutes, add another 10, 20 minutes, it's done.
Done.
Ready to go to the table.
And we're excited to try it.
We are.
And this guy likes it.
Well, good, good.
big
You like
fan.
spaghetti. All right, are we going to try it now? What do you think? What's the next step?
The next step is got to wait for our pasta to cook.
Okay, so while that cooks, we'll go to a quick break.
Okay.
And you'll want to come back to see the finished product and maybe enjoy some bread as well. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Spaghetti Show. We are here making spaghetti with Steve. And Steve, it's done.
It's done.
It looks
No problem.
beautiful and delicious.
Yeah. So this is what the master chef here has concocted in 20 minutes of time.
We just need to add one more P, the final P, Parmesan. And throw a little on top for the flavor.
Looks good.
Awesome.
And that's just for you, right? No one else. Now, if you want to add a little extra to your spaghetti meal, another inexpensive way of doing it is just go to the baker and get yourself a loaf of bread. And I'm going to move this pot out of the way here.
Any kind of bread, or do you recommend
Well,
a
you want
certain kind?
Italian bread.
Italian bread.
It's not so easy to find Italian bread in Park City. Most of it is
that?
sourdough bread or baguettes. This is a baguette. I'd rather have an Italian bread.
Okay.
But you take it and you just slice it diagonally without going through the bottom of the crust. And just slice it through this as such. Now, what you've done is just take a stick of butter, a quarter pound of butter, and then you take some blue cheese.
Ooh, blue cheese.
Just a container of blue cheese, and real easy chopped garlic. It's already chopped. You take it out of the tube, and you just squeeze it in. You could do this in the morning. It takes 3 minutes to do it. And what you're going to end up with is a little bit of batter. It's nothing more than butter, garlic, and blue cheese.
I wouldn't have thought to add blue cheese. I really like that.
Oh, the blue cheese is wonderful on it.
Yeah.
And now that you've cut your bread, as a way of an example here, you've got all these spaces in it. You fan it out. You just take your spoon and fill each of the sections with a little bit of the butter cheese. And you go all the way through.
My mouth
And
is
when it's
watering.
done,
It looks delicious.
You
doesn't
throw
it?
it into a toaster oven or an oven that you have
Whatever you have.
at 275 degrees, and you have a wonderful piece of blue cheese garlic bread to go with your spaghetti. Now, after eating that meal, you want to go back to the slopes and do a couple of night runs.
Or just chill in the hot tub. And
It
just,
is.
You know.
But it's a quick, simple, easy meal. Add a salad if you want, and you've taken care of your guests.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Welcome back. We love to talk about artists here, and we've got an upcoming artist spotlight where we visit Lindsay Aaron to talk about her visual and conceptual style.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Aaron Larson-Meyer. I'm a visual artist as well as a conceptual artist, specializing in oil paint. The representations in my artwork are primarily based on the notion of growth mindset. That there is power in our thoughts, that we have limitless potential, that there is merit to our deeds, and there is manifestation through our actions and through thinking positively about what we want in life. In my past, I've battled with a lot of negative self-talk, very self-destructive habits, and also sensitive to what other people think about me. And it's taken a long time to retrain how I see the world and how I think about myself. And I realized the importance of self-worth. And everything that I do in my artwork kind of starts in that place where we are divine creations. And so the symbols that are in my artwork all come from nature. Nature is my biggest teacher, I think. The way that the seasons change, blossom and grow, the way that the caterpillar metamorphoses into a butterfly, the way that diamonds are forged out of coal, there's a language and there's this divine coding in nature, and I want to be able to understand that more and relate it to our own human design, and then be able to implement that language and that sort of divine design coding into my artwork. I want to be able to strive to create what I think are beautiful things, so that when people look at my artwork, it fulfills a narrative with them, that they can somehow relate to that image. It either will tell their story, or it will at least resonate philosophically or spiritually with them. And so this is really what that work is about, is to inspire that thought that, you know, it's only our negative thought or the gravitational pull of society or circumstances that keep us like down. We have the power to rise collectively as a community, but also just as an individual. I feel like all of our adversities, all of our trials and tragedies is just really a way to forge us into becoming something so much more beautiful and refined, like a diamond. On the back of all of my artwork, I sign my artist mantra, and that is breathe, believe, bloom, become. So that's what I want people to take away. That's my message to you, and I hope that you feel that.
Well, that's all the time that we have for Wasatch Weekends on this Monday, September 18th edition. I'm your host, Ben Roof, and of course, if you've missed any of our past episodes, you can always catch us on parkcity.tv. I will see you next Friday for a little bit more Wasatch Weekends.